Yeah, so I'm Erik Sill, and I'm an undergrad from Luther College. I got my undergrad in business management and a minor in secondary education. And I actually, during my senior year of college, I was on track to just enter the business world, and decided in January of that year to change directions and go into the field of education. So I stuck around for a fifth year at Luther and wrapped up my education classes. From there, I student taught at Hopkins High School for a semester, and out of that experience, was fortunate to land my first teaching position at Minnetonka High School, where I taught business and marketing classes for 13 years. Within that time, started the Vantage program for Minnetonka Public Schools. That was the first profession-based immersion program that I started. Started that with 2 social studies teachers and an English teacher. And then after doing that for 3 years, I went to the dark side, and I'm now an administrator for the MNCAPS program for Prior Lake Savage area schools. And MNCAPS also serves students from Farmington as well. Besides that, I'm an avid sports fan, have 2 kids. They're currently just about 4 and 6, so I'm a dad too. What is CAPS is a question I get all of the time whenever I'm sharing this program with prospective students and parents. And CAPS stands for the Center for Advanced Professional Studies, and the program originated in the Blue Valley School District down in Overland Park, Kansas. And it originally started as a program and has now evolved into a network of schools that are offering profession-based immersion programs. So, and those schools are located across the globe. There's programs in the United States, Canada, and now India. And so it is now a global entity. And I currently serve the MNCAPS program, which is just the Minnesota Center for Advanced Professional Studies. CAPS is very different because of the emphasis on experiential learning. You know, I think there's so many of us as adults who, when we went through our educational journey, we sat in the classroom, we consumed content, we learned information from teachers and regurgitated it, and didn't really interact with the standards or experiences or skills that they were trying to teach us. It was confined to a traditional building, right? And that's what we experienced. With CAPS, you know, it's all about taking what you've learned, whether that's from a teacher or from a guest instructor from industry or a mentor, and applying it and interacting with it on a regular basis or on a specific project. Connecting course content to real-world situations is really difficult, right? And but through an instructional design process that we created, where we are in constant conversation with industry. And so we're taking industry standards, industry skills, taking standards from different content areas and integrating them into one experience. So instead of taking, at MNCAPS, we integrate, in our Foundations of Business pathway, we integrate business, economics, and English, so multiple content areas. So through backwards design, we don't make economics units or business units or English units. We make experiences and interlace those standards within those experiences. And the reason why we do that is because industries should really drive our learning experience. And experiences that integrate those content areas is how we learn as people. I mean, if we think about learning outside of the school, in the real world, right? In our real lives, we don't go home and spend 10 minutes on math and then go, okay, now I got 30 minutes of reading. Everything is integrated, right, and interconnected. And so that's the type of learning experience that we hope to offer to our students through the CAPS program. Programs across the world do not look the same at all. And this is not a cookie cutter opportunity. It's not a cookie cutter program. When school districts design their CAPS program, they design it around workforce demand in that community, companies and organizations that are prevalent and have a big presence in those communities, and then student interest. So all three of those things really play a big part, in when school districts are designing their CAPS program. And so a lot of times when we have schools who come visit us, especially rural schools, like, well, we could never start this because, we don't have a Best Buy or a Target in our headquarters in our small little town, but there's small businesses all over the place. So we try to redirect that sort of challenge and put it back on them. Like, well, what is present in your community? What workforce demands do you have? Because there's a lot of things that these small rural communities have that we don't have, right? And so it's trying to make them aware of what they could offer versus what they can't. The pathways that we offer at MNCAPS currently, so we have 4 different business pathways. We have Foundations of Business, which is really an entrepreneurial endeavor. We have Design and Marketing. We have a Sales pathway, and then we have Marketing Analytics. So we have 4 that fall under that business umbrella. We also offer a healthcare pathway, and this year for the first time, we offered an education pathway, which is really fun. So we have future teachers coming out of the MNCAPS program. But again, when you look at all the programs across the country, there's such a wide variety of pathways that are offered. And so I encourage you to look into those programs. I mean, you could get engineering at a school in Kansas, you can get agroscience and some other programs across the country. So it really, again, it depends on the community that the school district is located in. We basically have 4 roles that we look to fill through our partnerships with industry leaders. One is a mentor experience, so every single one of our business students has a mentor from industry. We do not play matchmaker with careers because students change their mind about careers every 10 seconds, right? And so it's all about fostering a professional relationship. It's about teaching kids how to communicate with someone from a different generational group, right? And then also how to network. So how do you build trust with someone in industry and then leverage that relationship to open up future opportunities? So that's really one major role. We have our students meet with their mentors once a month face-to-face and then communicate via text or email once a week. The second role is a guest instructor. So you and I know them as guest speakers. They came to talk about their career to our class when we were sitting in the classroom. It's a little different with CAPS, right? So the guest instructor, we really view it as we are team teaching with industry. So when I recruit someone to come talk about a very specific concept in our business pathways, I send them the same learning standard, the same outcome that I would use as a business teacher. I send that to the industry professional. And then I ask that person, hey, can you come in and talk about this standard for an hour? And they have no trouble doing that. So it really requires the teacher to set that person up for success by telling them exactly what you want them to cover. And what's cool is like those guest instructors really provide context to the content that you're teaching. So if you do it right, it can be really effective. The third role that we have are site visits, right? So you and I know them as field trips, but there's more purpose, right? So again, when we go visit a certain company or organization, yeah, we go there so kids can experience what it's like to be in a business setting, but also like how will this experience enhance what they're learning? So again, it's important that you review your standards, learning outcomes, and send those to the people who are going to host you as part of that site visit. The last role that we seek are project sponsors. So we go out and recruit companies to sponsor an 8 to 10 week project. So I give the companies 4 to 5 students to tackle a very specific outcome, an objective statement over that 8 to 10 weeks. And the ask that I have for them is I ask that client to provide 3 hours of their time, an initial client meeting, a midpoint check-in, and then a final client presentation. So those are that's how our company projects work. So those are the 4 roles that we have through our business pathways at MNCAPS. Recruiting business partners is actually a lot easier than one would think. And I say that because it seems like businesses and organizations are looking for ways to get involved with developing future leaders. I've found success through really knowing what my ask is for industry. So before I even start engaging with those companies and organizations, I know exactly what I'm asking for. So I know the defined roles in our organization. So if I'm looking for a mentor for a student, I know the time allocated for the mentor. I know the duration of time over the year. I can give that adult the exact ask for what I'm seeking. And from there, it hasn't been that difficult to recruit business partners to be engaged with our program. Other ways that we recruit business partners and organizations is through our parents, right? We just start asking different questions to our parents about what they do for work, and then we listen and we learn more about them, and then start figuring out, okay, I know this person, this person, this person. How can I bring them into our program and serve in these different roles? So this program is for 11th and 12th graders. And so we often have students who come to us as juniors and will come back to us for their senior year as well. The nice part about what we offer at MNCAPS is that students can combine not only their MNCAPS schedule and their schedule at the high school, but they can also complement MNCAPS with PSEO. So we have students who do that as well. We've even had a couple of students who have done MNCAPS for their entire school day, which has been really fun. It really comes down to what credits the students still have to earn in their 4-year graduation plan, and then how we make those puzzle pieces fit to get students to do it for 2 years. But it is a 2-year program, or can be a 2-year program. Yeah, so we spend a lot of time teaching students, parents, businesses, organizations, companies about CAPS, and we spend a lot of time with our post-secondary partners as well, teaching them about the CAPS model and what we do for students. And what's great is, similar to companies and organizations, they want to learn too, because the students that come out of CAPS are the students that they want in their institutions, right? And so through CAPS, in some programs, you can earn college credits. So sometimes the post-secondary partners will have concurrent enrollment agreements with our programs. Otherwise, the post-secondary partners, they see students' applications when they apply to register in those institutions. They see college essays that have a lot of substance to them, right? So when you're asking a student about a time that they've demonstrated leadership or initiative, a student can talk to an 8 to 10 week project that they worked on for Best Buy, and they've got a specific outcome, deliverables, a role on a team. So I would say the post-secondary partners are seeing applicants that have just a little more substance to their experiences than a typical high school student. Yeah, so the credits you can earn from participating in CAPS are both high school and college credits. So we have high school credits that go towards the 4-year graduation plan, but some of those credits also include college credits. And so we offer college credits through concurrent enrollment agreements. And if you're unfamiliar with concurrent enrollment, it basically just means that our teachers in-house are teaching college-level curriculum, and those are usually endorsed by post-secondary institutions within the community that the CAPS program is located in. Yeah, the schedule at CAPS looks very different than a traditional setting. So a student will spend 2 or 3 hours a day for the entire year with us. But when they come to us, we don't have the traditional schedule where they go from first to second to third hour, right? So in our Foundations of Business pathway, which includes economics, English, and business, they don't go from content area to content area, right? And so we don't have any bells at CAPS. And every day looks a little different. So the one constant is that, they sit down and the teacher goes over the daily agenda, but that agenda can look different every single day. And we want that to be part of their experience because that's what it looks like in industry. When you work at Target headquarters, you don't have the same agenda every single day. And so we try to recreate that through the programming that we offer. Yeah, enrolling in CAPS is it's open to all students, right? So we do ask our students to fill out an application, and then they interview with me. And for a lot of students, even that part alone is really intimidating because they've never interviewed before, right? And so right out of the gates, we put them in an uncomfortable situation, which is good because we know that they're growing before they even walk through our doors. I look for students who are socially mature, are reliable, and can work in groups. And so that's what I look. I don't look at GPA. I do look at behavioral incidents. I do look at that, and I look at attendance. So if students can't show up to school on time, they can't come to CAPS, right? But really, I would say we serve like the middle kid, the kid who, for whatever reason, the traditional setting just hasn't worked for them. They haven't found success in that model. So like right now, our GPA range is 1.9 to 4.2. Average ACT score is 21, right? So we serve the middle kid. And what's cool is like you see, just like the workplace, you have a variety of skills and abilities, but you have students who come over to our program, they have a 2.2 GPA, which is, according to education standards, pretty average. They come over to me and they're total rock stars because they can sell you anything. So when you get up in front of these clients, when we're doing these company projects, those students are just total rock stars. And sometimes for the first time, they experience success in an academic setting. Yeah, it's definitely challenging to integrate some of these ideas and concepts into the traditional setting. I would say the first step you should take is start having conversations with people from industry, right? So when you, at parent-teacher conferences, when parents sit down in front of parents and guardians, sit in front of you, start asking questions about what they do. Ask them about what skills are absolutely essential for new employees to have to be successful in their company or organization, right? And they'll talk your ear off. And you can just start to jot those down as they're talking. And then think about how can you integrate some of that skill development into your class. Another way, I always suggest starting a DECA program. DECA is very much experiential learning. You're working on projects a lot of times with teams. That's a good way to get some of that project-based learning involved, and try to get students to go out and find those clients, find companies to work for with their DECA projects. That's one way to do it. Or if you have someone within your network who in your mind, you could get them to give you an 8 to 10 week project and then just have your whole class work on, like you could break them up into small groups and work on that same project. That'd be an awesome thing to do as well. And then don't forget to bring back the client for the final client presentation so that your students are presenting to an authentic audience and not just their peers and the teacher in a traditional setting. The best part about CAPS is the confidence that we instill in every single student who participates. And it's amazing when you have students navigating ambiguity, you put them in uncomfortable settings, you put them in situations they've never been in before, and they go through it and they find success and they receive coaching on what they've done, and they walk away, even if it hasn't gone well, they walk away with like this small form of accomplishment, right? And so we hear that all the time, like when students walk away, they walk out of our doors for the last time, they've got this increased self-confidence. And we all know from the research that, students or individuals who can self-advocate for themselves are the ones who are going to find success with whatever they do next. whether it's going to a post-secondary institution, whether it's entering the workforce or entering the armed services. Like all the skills that we incorporate into the daily part of CAPS is transferable to whatever's next. And so, I think a lot of times high schools look at kids and they think the end point is graduation, and for us, that's definitely not the case. We think about the end point being when they're employed for the first time, right? And so at that point, that's when students can look back and think about, well, what part did CAPS play in their journey towards where they got? And so it's been cool to, meet with alumni and or even students who have been out for a couple years and just talk about, what they got out of MNCAPS. And by far, the thing that comes back over and over again is just the confidence piece. I would say that some of the joys, selfishly, I feel like I've learned more through starting these programs than I ever did in my undergraduate experience. And that is no knock on Luther and what they do, but I was really engaged with a lot of different business partners to create this type of learning experience. So it was just so many conversations with what skills they're looking for, what knowledge base that they have to be successful. And then when I got to go into those companies and organizations and take that conversation another level deeper, I learned even more. Then when the companies gave us all these different projects, right, to manage and take care of them in regard to managing student project groups, I learned even more. I learned about the problems that companies have, and then how basically consultants can come in and help them with those problems. So I feel like I've learned a lot through this experience. And then I would say just another joy that I find is just the number of people you meet. I mean, we have new students every single year, right? And so we get to meet new students all the time. But even, the number of mentors, so we have 240 mentors right now. That's 240 adults that we engage with. We have 20 different companies that we worked with this past year on 8 to 10 week projects. So I've engaged with all of them too. So I feel like I'm constantly learning from the different stakeholders that, engage with CAPS. Some of the challenges, like right now I serve 2 different school districts right now. So serving 2 superintendents, 2 school boards, a lot of parents, who have their own agendas and rightfully so. Then I think, as we all know in education, like the funding and making sure that this fits into the operational budget of your institution, that's always, can be a challenge when you're starting these types of programs. So, I would always say that the joys definitely outweigh the challenges, but they're there as much as I hope that they wouldn't be.